What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy, and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hasbro the Black Series Clone Commander Bacara from Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. When this character first got revealed for the Black Series line, I was ecstatic. We are one step closer to finally completing the barrage of clone commanders that we see in that Order 66 montage in Revenge of the Sith. However, there's been some controversy with this particular release of Commander Bacara, and we're definitely going to be getting into that in this review. This Commander Bacara figure is one that I pre-ordered on Big Bad Toy Store. That's the place I go to for most of my action figure orders and pre-orders. They're a US-based company. I like supporting them. They're a smaller business in the action figure kind of realm, so definitely go check them out. I love their pile of loot feature in particular. Commander Bacara comes in your standard packaging for the Black Series. Right now, you get your Black Series logo up at the top, a nice big plastic window showing you the figure and his accessories. You get the character's name in vertical text. He is number 2 for the Revenge of the Sith subline. Down below the window in this like brownish orange color for the banner is the color for the Revenge of the Sith subline. You have your logos and your legalese down at the bottom there. On this side of the box you have your mural image. You can see a little bit of Megiddo in the background, which is super cool. Those iconic buildings, which I remember most fondly from Battlefront 2 2005, and we do also have the character's name down at the bottom. On the back of the box, we do have a lot of the stuff we saw on the other sides of the packaging, like the mural image we saw on the side of the box, which is blown up a bit. You have your Black Series logo, the character's name, and a bio in about 1,000 different languages. This bio reads, "Known for his aggressive tactics, Clone Commander Bacara led the Galactic Marines, a unit of clone troopers famous for their distinctive armor and relentlessness in combat." We reiterate again, he's number 2 for the Revenge of the Sith subline. All your legalese at the bottom here. Please, guys, don't feed this action figure to your babies. On this side of the box, you have your Black Series logo, a little bit of that wraparound window there. On the bottom, even more legalese, and on the top, nothing. That about wraps it up for the packaging. Let's get this guy opened and we'll check him out. Alright guys, here is Commander Bacara out of the box. Before we check him out, we're going to first check out the 2 accessories he comes with. The first one being the DC-15A or DC-15S, depending on who you ask. This is a standard accessory for most of your clone troopers. This is the one that Commander Bacara is holding in his famous scene in Revenge of the Sith. It is done in a kind of dark gray sculpting here. You know, this is the same thing. We've gotten this so many times in the line now, so you should know exactly what you're getting. Awesome detail, no weathering, no paint, just the basic piece of plastic. Same can be said for the DC-15 long rifle, the DC-15, the regular one we see. It looks great. Again, same exact sculpt in that same dark gray plastic we saw the DC-15S done in, and this one, again, no paint, no detail other than the sculpted detail. Alright guys, let's delve right into Commander Bacara here. So a couple things that I really feel like need to be mentioned, need to be addressed. If you've seen other reviews on this figure, you probably know what I'm going to be talking about, and it has to do with the helmet. Now, as far as the weathering goes, I could really care less whether this guy has, you know, screen accurate weathering to the movie, and that's really just mainly because I don't expect anymore with Black Series that troopers are going to be weathered, because most aren't in the line. I mean, let's be honest, like most troopers don't have any weathering anymore, so I feel like it would be more of a surprise if he did come with weathering. However, there are some issues, mainly with the helmet, that I have with this figure. So the first thing that I take issue with here with this figure is something very minor. It is that there are 2 little reddish dots that are on his helmet near the top right side of the visor here, and they're missing on this figure. They're on the packaging, on the mural art, but they are not on the figure. Again, it's a small detail, but it is one that is unique to this character, so I feel like it's worth mentioning. You know, if it were a ranked trooper from Attack of the Clones, I would also point it out if they were missing the dots that go on the chest. You know, same kind of detail there. Small, but worth mentioning. Now, the big one here is the QC issue that the visors come with. And honestly, I feel like mine is one of the worst that I've seen out of all my friends who have this figure. The visor is supposed to not be like curved down the way it is, I guess the best way to describe it. It should be straight across like any other clone trooper visor, and the corners, the top corners should be, you know, parallel with the top of the dome, I guess I'll call it here. So my issue with this figure is the visor here. It's got this like frowny face visor. I'm not sure how this ended up happening, but you know, you can see like the top corners of the visor. It shouldn't look like this. It doesn't look like this in the movie, and so the figure should not look like this either. However, you know, again, I guess it just is what it is. I'm a weird person. I don't like to customize my figures or fix them or do anything like that. So I put them on the shelf as I get them out of the box. So you know, but I feel like it was definitely worth pointing out again, because this is just, it was the first time Hasbro did this new clone trooper helmet, and they did it with no removable head underneath, and I really liked that idea, but in execution I feel like kind of fumbled the ball on this one. All right, all my complaining and crying about the helmet aside, you know, I'm a big cloner, you know, so I should obviously be pointing out inaccuracies with the clones. One other QC issue that I noticed with this guy is, now they did, you would have seen it when I was unboxing him, the little piece of plastic that was between the legs and the comma, that was to avoid the bleeding and the staining from the comma, which is a dyed piece of fabric, onto the legs. However, some of that fabric color still did stain the front very lightly. I don't even know if you could see it on camera, but it did stain the front of the left thigh armor here. So unfortunate, but at the end of the day, again, it is what it is. They tried to fix that by putting the plastic between the legs and the comma, but on my copy, it still didn't help. We've complained, we've cried, we've talked about the stuff we don't like about the figure just out of the box. So let's talk about the rest of the painted and sculpted detail on this guy. One thing I do really like about this figure is this pauldron here. This is the first time we've ever seen a kind of shoulder strap pauldron like this in the Black Series line. I love how the paint is chipped on this kind of purplish color here. I think they did this really well. It's a nice, thin, malleable material. However, I feel like it's still going to stay very sturdily on the figure. I feel like it's not going to hinder articulation at all, and really there's nothing more that I can ask for when it comes to that. Other than the 2 dots on the helmet, all the other painted detail looks like it's there. You've got that kind of black line that kind of runs across the helmet here. The antenna, which is done in a nice malleable plastic, is done in black, and he's got the nice gray and black details on the front of the helmet, and he's even got some silver and some black for the grill on the helmet here, and then obviously the chin filter is painted, as well as all these tubes down here. Everything looks really good. I mean, other than the missing dots, the paint applications do look very, very nice. Then we've got these little straps down here, which usually these only go about midway through the front of the thigh, but it looks like they've actually had these little strap pieces wrap all the way around to the back, and that's great because it gives for a great illusion that it looks more accurate to what we see in Revenge of the Sith. Aside from that though, the base body of this clone trooper is just your 2023 clone trooper sculpt, basically with some new overlays on him. So if you have your 2023 clone trooper or any figure that's on that base body, that's what you can expect from, without the head and the overlay here and the comma, that's what you can expect with this figure. One thing I did notice too was the back of the commas kind of like sagging a little bit. So what I did was I kind of just lifted the belt overlay up and over, and it seems to have fixed that issue entirely. So it's not bunched up in the back anymore. It actually looks really, really flush and very nice. So I gotta say that's something that's great. I like that about this overlay system. If, you know, soft goods aren't sitting correctly, the overlay systems make it very easy to just, you know, fix that out of the box without having to heat the figure up or anything. All right, covering articulation on this guy. Again, base body is a 2023 Clone Trooper sculpt, so you should be pretty familiar with this if you own a figure on this base body. However, like I said earlier, the head does not have the blank Tamara Morrison head underneath. Because this is a new helmet sculpt, they decided not to go with the Tamara Morrison head underneath, which I think was a great idea, because I think sometimes the removable helmets give these guys a bobblehead effect. So the neck is kind of like a barbell joint, where you have a ball at the top of the neck and one at the bottom of the neck. Bacara can look down quite a bit, and he can also look up just a little bit, not terribly much. You can get some nice tilt out of that helmet, and he can look right and left. Now, the chest armor is an overlay, and this has actually got some new on it too, because these little pouches at the bottom and then this little, I want to call it a detonator at the top, these are new pieces that we do see on some other clone troopers in Revenge of the Sith, However, in this case, there should be just some minor black painted detail on some of the straps here, but usually on a Black Series figure, something from Hasbro, you don't expect too much paint to be applied to little details like that, which is unfortunate, but it just is what it is. As far as the shoulder articulation, you also have shoulder armor that's on an O-ring system, so the shoulder armor is going to move independently of the arms. So you do have a butterfly joint at the shoulders, which, as you can see, have some really nice range. You also have a hinge and swivel. The hinge gets you above the 90-degree mark, which is great. Now, if you're swiveling the shoulder more than about 90 degrees in either direction, I recommend trying to keep that shoulder armor with the arm so that it doesn't stress the plastic at all. He does also have a bicep swivel, which is really nice. He has some deep cut single jointed elbows, which are going to get you past the 90-degree mark, which is awesome. There is also a swivel at the top of the elbow in addition to the bicep swivel. And then, of course, down here at the wrists, he does have a hinge and swivel with that vertical hinge at the right wrist with that trigger finger, and then another trigger finger hand for the left hand with a horizontal hinge as opposed to a vertical hinge. He has a ball joint here at the midsection, which is going to get you some really nice range, and again, because this overlay for the pauldron is connected to the belt, you're not going to have much issue with that. And then, of course, down here at the hips, you're going to have some nice ball joints here, which have some great range. He's also got a thigh swivel hidden underneath that thigh armor, which also gives you some great added articulation. And then he has some single jointed deep cut knees, which gets you past that 90-degree mark. And then this knee armor is actually a free floating piece, which you can move any which way you'd like. And that's something that's probably one of my biggest pluses about this figure is before this, they used to always glue the knee armor to the thigh. It just looked so goofy when you're trying to pose a figure in something more dynamic. So I really do appreciate these free floating knee armor pieces. There is also a swivel at the top of the knee, if I didn't already mention, and then down here at the ankles you have your forward-facing pin for rocker, as well as a hinge, which gets you some nice forward and gets you some nice back as well. Overall, the articulation's great, and you know, I can get over the helmet stuff. You know, as annoying as it is, and as annoying as the QC on that visor looks, it's something I can ultimately get over, but I definitely feel like it was worth mentioning. All right, let's get this guy's accessories in hand. So, of course, you do have that DC-15S here. We'll get that into the right hand, a very nice firm connection shake test. It passes, and then, of course, we'll get him into a basic pose here with the blaster in one hand. You can see just a basic pose here. He looks great with this blaster in hand. I think this is a great just idle pose for your shelf. And then, of course, this is him imitating his Ki-Adi-Mundi slaying pose that he does in Revenge of the Sith. Again, a very nice pose, and the base figure is a great base body for this character. Going with the DC-15 long rifle here. Again, it fits really nicely into one hand here. Passes the shake test, and then obviously being a long rifle, you would want this one in more of a two-handed pose. We'll get him into a low kneeling pose while we're at it. And again, this figure's great. I mean, any clone trooper that's on the 2023 clone trooper sculpt is just automatically going to be a great action figure as far as articulation goes. So again, very nice pose here. You can also get this guy into a really nice one-legged running pose. Again, great balance, great center of gravity on this figure. He's really nice in hand. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up on my thoughts on Commander Bacara here. Maybe it's my cloner brain rot bias, but you know, obviously as I'm posing him around, I'm having a lot of fun with him, and that's just because the base figure is great. Other than the QC issues that especially come with the helmet here that I hope Hasbro is able to correct if they use this helmet going forward, this is a great figure. I mean, regardless, you know, if you're a fan of Revenge of the Sith, I think you'll still get a lot of enjoyment out of this action figure. If you're a fan of Clone Troopers, you'll still get a lot of enjoyment out of this action figure. But with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and more awesome benefits, make sure to check out the link to my Patreon in the description below. In addition to that, if you'd like just the reviews early, or if you just want to support the channel in an above and beyond way, you can check out my channel membership, Rancor Battalion, for just 99 cents a month. Gives you access to all my reviews early, as well as the ability to vote on what I review next for the channel. If you'd like to check out some Blitz Transmissions merch, you could go check out the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify. That link is in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and all my social media. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking all units, fire at will. 4-2, pick a target. Too many, Captain. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's our reinforcements?